Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a dessert with 2 ingredients, and truly this recipe only contains 2 ingredients. How many times have you been fooled by a title and it says 2 ingredients, 3 ingredients, and then you technically look at all the ingredients that's in it and you're just like, yeah, clickbait, there aren't 2 ingredients, there's like 7 ingredients or 4 ingredients. But today's recipe truly contains 2 ingredients. The recipe is called a 2-ingredient dessert, and if I would have to describe it or give it a name, I would say it's kind of similar to a flan because it has a caramel topping, but the base of it is going to be sweetened egg white, essentially a meringue, but it's going to be baked in a Bundt pan. So sort of like a pavlova, I think. No, what I'm thinking it's going to be similar to is the cloud bread, but this is gonna be sweet. I don't know. That's why we're making this today, because I'm not really sure what this is going to taste like. I digress. Let's go ahead and make this. And as always, I will put a link down below to the original recipe. Alrighty, first thing we need to do is cook up some sugar. And we're making a caramel here, so we're just going to be using 1 cup of sugar into my pan. So we're not going to add any cream, any water at this point. We're just going to melt the sugar. Heavy bottom again is important so it can distribute that heat nice and evenly, so we're less likely to burn our caramel. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to separate some eggs, and that is the other ingredient in this recipe. Actually, egg whites. We don't need the yolks, so I'm going to separate them. I've shown this many times, so this is my favorite way to separate eggs, and that's simply using impeccably clean hands to scoop out the yolk and leave the whites behind. Pause the egg separating for a moment just so you can see what's happening here. It's already turning golden, and that's just from the heat. No added water. So I'm going to give it a stir, kind of distribute the heat. I don't want to stir it too much because that can cause crystallization. If you've ever seen me in my sugar adventures, the first time I made tang huliu, for example, you'll know what I'm talking about. Plenty of sugar failures. All right, that's a beautiful color. A little darker, I think. And on standby here, I've got a 1/2 cup of water. So this looks good. I don't want this to get too dark. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and now very carefully add my water. So, wicked hot. And look at that beautiful kind of cola color. And dissolve all that sugar. So I've got my Bundt pan here. In the original video, they use a tube pan, and that helps with getting a nice kind of even distribution of heat. The tube pan I have is a 2-parter that is a made for angel food cake, and the flan will leak out. So I'm opting to use this Bundt pan instead. So here's the caramel, and now I'm going to add it to my Bundt pan. They didn't say anything about cooking it any longer, but maybe after this cools a bit, it will be thicker in consistency. I'm gonna set this aside. Alrighty, so I have my 7 egg whites all separated, and we are going to beat them into stiff peaks. I also have 12 tablespoons of sugar, which is quite a lot. It looks about to be about 3/4 of a cup, which makes sense because 4 tablespoons in equals 1/4 cup. So yes, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So in the original video, they show adding the sugar 1 tablespoon at a time after stiff peaks have been reached, which leads me to believe you're going to get gritty meringue. Traditionally, if you're adding sugar to a meringue, you add it gradually as you're beating it. So that's what I'm going to do because I don't want any grit. But, alrighty, let's go. So beat them up first. So I've mentioned this in the past. This is a Cuisinart hand mixer. It is great for beating egg whites, but for mixing things that you don't want so much power, it's not too great. it's too much. Like if you're making cookie batter or cake batters, it's a little bit too strong, even on the #1 speed. But for egg whites, I really like it. Alrighty, back to this. Scratch that. I'm going to add the sugar when they say to add the sugar, which is after the stiff peaks, because what's following a recipe if you're not going to follow the recipe, right? Even if it fails. So carry on. So, and just like that, we are at soft peaks. So now I'm going to add the sugar. This is the beautiful consistency of our meringue. It is glossy and it is very, very stiff. See? So this is the base of the dessert. This mixture right here, which is sugar and egg whites. And here is our Bundt pan with the caramel. And it has thickened a bit. It's still pretty runny though, but it is thicker. So I'm going to put this up along the sides of the pan to coat it, but most of it's going to stay at the bottom. But this will, hopefully if this recipe works, cascade over the dessert, covering everything in caramel. And now we are going to float this into our pan. We're just going to add little bits of it all over. So I'm pressing it down because I don't want to have any pockets if possible. I'll try to avoid them, but I don't want to deflate my egg whites either, so I'm not pushing too hard. Next, what I'm going to do is take this over to the oven, and I'm going to place this on the rack and then place the dessert in there. Then I will take some boiling water and fill this up so it goes halfway up the side of the pan. Then I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. Then we're going to take it out and we're going to invert it while it is warm. And then we're going to give this a taste. So I'm not going to do this here because this is a bunch of boiling water. It's a little bit precarious. And I'm going to do it in the oven. It's a bit safer. Alrighty, so I will see you in about 35 minutes. Alrighty, bye. Alrighty, my lovelies, I just took out the meringue flan out of the oven and it rose a ton. It was at the highest point about an inch above the rim of the pan. Pretty incredible how the egg whites increased in volume while baking. The top of the dessert started to get brown really quickly. So I took a piece of parchment paper and I covered one side with foil. I wanted the parchment touching the dessert so it wouldn't stick and the foil to reflect some of that heat. And I'm glad I did. There's one little piece in the back that didn't get covered and it got a little bit toasted, but that won't matter because that will be on the bottom. But so glad I took those lengths, otherwise the whole top of this would have been completely black. Alrighty, so the instructions say to invert this while it is warm. So already in the about 3 minutes since I've taken it out, it has dropped to be about the level of the top of the pan, which is perfect. So let me grab a plate and we're gonna quickly invert this. Hopefully I'll catch the flan juices, the caramel. This is risky bisky. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. I got some spillage, but I think we'll be all right because I think I got the flan onto here. So let me use some paper towels to clean that up. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. It came out. That's so great. Yay. Oh my gosh, it looks pretty great. Look at that. Alrighty, let's go ahead and cut into this. Oh my gosh, it cuts like a cloud. Wow. It feels so great. It's like a delicate, squishy sponge. No resistance whatsoever. Here we go. Jiggle, jiggle. Oh, yeah. Red, red wine. All right. Oof. Look at that beautiful slice. Flan, that was the top, now it's the bottom. And everything is coated in that caramel sauce we made. Oh, now you can see the caramel on the bottom. Ooh, see that? Pool at the bottom. Beautiful. Alrighty, let's go ahead and give this a taste. Look at this cloudy, fluffy beauty. Cut into it. Look at that. Jiggle, jiggle. Alrighty, here we go. Make sure I get some, I'm gonna dip it in some extra caramel. Yeah. Alrighty, itadakimasu. And it tastes as I kind of expected, in the sense that it's very similar to the cloud bread. Very fluffy, foamy, really. There's no real chew to it at all. Kind of just dissolves in your mouth. The caramel is lovely. It has this nice kind of slightly bitter flavor to it while being simultaneously very sweet. It is just sugar after all. The texture is very light yet foamy. Here we go, like this. See? In terms of flavor, slightly eggy, but very delightful. I actually like this better than cloud bread. I felt like cloud bread kind of implied that you could actually make a sandwich or something with it, which I didn't find very feasible. But this served as a dessert, I think would be totally feasible. I would love to present this as a dessert, maybe with something like a scoop of ice cream or something. On its own, it's sweet enough, but it doesn't feel quite decadent enough. It's not quite rich, but beautiful presentation, relatively easy to make, and it actually only contains 2 ingredients. So there you have it, the 2-ingredient dessert. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Before I eat any more of this, it's time for me to go eat lunch. Okay, bye.